Hello and welcome to episode number 57 of the Hobbies and Happiness podcast, where we talk all about the hobby that makes us happy, tabletop gaming. I'm one of your hosts, Dan.
And I'm Jim, and today we're going over different rule sets for tournaments.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Hope you all had a great 4th of July holiday. We decided to take that week off. It was pretty crazy. I know for both of us, we had a lot of family time.
Yeah.
Like for me, it was a really busy. Like it was a really busy 2 days, but it was also a lot of relaxing busyness because it's like we want. My wife's family is really close, so we just all decided to get together. We didn't really do a whole lot, but we just spent time together.
Yeah.
So that meant my time was occupied. So. But how about you? How was your 4th holiday?
Yeah, so we got to celebrate my mom's birthday as well, which she was born on the 5th, so we just put them together. But yeah, it was pretty busy. Yeah. I was out for the entire day.
Yeah.
So
so it was nice extending that weekend. That's always nice. All right, so before we get into it, we're going to talk about our sponsor for the week, Audible. That's right. Yeah. Hashtag sponsored. Hashtag sponsored by Audible. All right. So and by now you've probably heard the spiel, but Audible is a fantastic place where you can sign up for a free 30-day trial and get a free credit for a free book, for a free audiobook of your choosing. So how it works is you can sign up for a free 30-day trial by going to the website, www.audibletrial.com/hobbiesandhappiness. If you're watching, you can see that link right on screen here. And if you're listening, just check the link in the description of the podcast and you can check it out right there. But if you follow that link, you can sign up for a free 30-day trial. And what's even cooler is if you're an Amazon Prime member, you actually get 2 free books. So 2 free credits. Okay. And some people think it's nice, but if you don't like the service, cancel by the end of the 30 days, you get to keep whatever book you get. So keep whatever book you get. So again, www.audibletrial.com/hobbies and happiness. Again, that's www.audibletrial.com/hobbies and happiness. Sign up for your free 30-day trial and pick whatever free book that you want that they have on their store. So, all right, that out of the way, we're going to talk about our topic for the week. So this topic actually came up in discussion between Jim and I today.
Yeah.
Right. Now, before we kind of dive in, he talked about we were having a discussion about how to intro the episode.
What am I calling this?
Yeah, we're like, what do we call it? So I had thrown out the word format. Like it's kind of a format, right? Now, if you remember, we had this discussion, right, about what it was formats and what was the other word? Genre.
Yeah.
It was like format or genre because we were talking about like the different genres of card games, like living card game,
trading card game,
collectible card game. Those different types of genres of card games. Other people had used the term formats, and we're like, well, format's kind of already taken, right?
Yeah.
Which yes, it is, but I don't know. This is one of those things where there's really no set in stone word to use.
Yeah.
So you kind of just got to use whatever word that you think is going to best describe what you're talking about. And format's a great word that can describe a lot of different things, right? Even in relation to gaming, just tabletop gaming in general, format can be used to describe a lot of different things. So, so we're like formats. Then Jim,
I didn't really like the word for it.
Yeah.
So I'm
the word format or
format.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
I didn't really like it.
Okay.
Even though that's what Magic Arena uses for what it specifically we're going to talk about, but I really like the word rule set for it, which I think makes a little more sense.
It does. It does make a little bit of sense. So, all right. So, without leaving you in suspense for any longer, I guess, what we wanted to talk about today is...
Let's tell them the story first, Dan.
Okay. Which
We were
story?
sitting
Which
in
story?
the bank.
Oh yeah.
Of just like how we came up with it.
Yeah. Sure. No, go ahead.
Yeah, so we were sitting in the bank today, getting our business account all set up, and when the bank guy, I don't know what you call him,
The teller.
yeah, sure,
Yeah.
he went off, and
it may not be teller. I don't know what they call them.
know.
I don't even know if they have tellers. I don't know.
No
The
clue.
guy, the gentleman who was helping us today.
yeah,
Yeah.
that guy was funny.
He was funny. He said,
We got another story.
yeah, yeah, but finish this story first.
So we're sitting there. He goes off getting some paperwork together, and we're just sitting there talking about random stuff. We then we talk about. I don't even remember how it came apart.
I remember how it came
Oh, you
up.
do?
I do. Yeah, I
remembered us talking about Hearthstone.
I showed you the meme, that picture from the Marvel Dice Throne. That had the tier list.
Yes, that's right. Okay, all right. Okay, so Dan shows me this photo of a tier list, right? And we're looking at it like, okay, this is kind of accurate.
Yeah,
it was crazy how
it was
kind of true.
So it was a meme, and if you didn't catch our stream, I think we streamed like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We were streaming Marvel Dice Throne. Okay. And so we played a total of 4 characters. Jim played Black Widow
and Scarlet
Witch, and then I played Doctor Strange and Loki. Okay. After that stream, we came out of that stream like, okay, Black Widow is OP.
Black Widow's broken.
Black Widow is busted. Okay, now granted, this is after 2 games, right?
Yeah,
so take that with a grain of salt. So this tier list that we saw, it was a meme basically, but it had Black Widow in S tier and every other character in D tier. We're like, yeah, sounds about right.
We didn't even play the other 4 characters.
No, we didn't.
We didn't even look at them, but we're like, yeah, Black Widow's kind of broken.
Yeah.
So even one playthrough.
Yeah.
And
so I showed him that. I sent that to him.
That's right.
But then I brought it up. I'm like, oh, hey, did you see this?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what led off the discussion.
So he's talking about that, and then he brings up the thing of, you could have tournaments for this game, but for this specifically, you would have to bring like 3 characters or essentially 3 decks if you wanted to build something like this, and it would all pretty much be a best of 1. And then the other person gets to ban one of the characters or one of the decks that you bring.
Right.
And I brought up how Hearthstone also does that. People go in there with multiple decks. They tried to give it like some form of sideboard thing like Magic does.
Yeah, right.
But it just didn't really go anywhere.
Really take, yeah.
And so even still to this day, they have the tournaments where they go in with 5 decks. If it's like, a more marathon type showing, or they go in there with 3 decks, and then you have to win with like all 3 of your decks, pretty much.
Oh, really?
Something along those lines.
Instead of banning.
Yeah. They will also do banning, I think, if there's 5 decks.
Gotcha.
So if there's 3, I think you have to just play all of your decks.
Gotcha. Okay.
But again, you only get to play them once if you win.
Right. Yeah. So once you win, then you're done with that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So at that point, if you're running in with 3 decks, it's a best of 5.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. So that was what led off the discussion. So we started talking about it, and I'm like, all right, stop talking. This is a really good podcast topic. So I got out my phone, I put it down. I'm like, all right, this is actually really good. So it got me thinking about all of the different card games. Again, card games more specifically, but then also thinking about how it can apply to some board games like Dice Throne, and then even Villainous too is another good one.
Villainous was the one I instantly thought of.
So you have games where you're either building a deck of cards, or you have like a character that you are taking control of, right? In the case of Villainous, it's your character and they have their own specific deck, right? And the same thing with Dice Throne. Again, very, very similar, right? So, because my thought was, I'm like, okay, it's with how many different characters there are, and specifically in the case of Marvel Dice Throne, where we're like, dude, Black Widow is just so crazy good that everyone would just play her. Right. If you in a tournament setting, right. If everyone in the community, right, had the same thought, right, of this character is so broken, in a tournament setting, you have to play that character if you have any chance of winning.
Or just do an outright ban, but because
Right.
if it always just gets banned, then like, okay, whatever.
Right. So my thinking was, I'm like, all right, well, if you were doing a tournament for Dice Throne, okay. Now this all comes back to how you would want to set up the tournament, right? Now the thing you'd have to the question you'd have to answer first is, what are we trying to do? Like, are we trying to find the most skilled player, or the luckiest player? Which, I mean, there's always, in card gaming, there's always some amount of luck to it as well. Like, again, in a Magic tournament, 100%. There's definitely a little bit of luck to that. That's not to say that. I mean, there's also a reason why you're always going to see a lot of the similar faces at top eights in tournaments, right?
Because they're cheating.
Yeah.
If you're not cheating, are you really trying to win the tournament?
Right.
Am I right?
Right. So I'm like, all right, well, with Dice Throne, where you have there's a lot of different characters, okay? You wouldn't just want to pick one character and just try and, I mean, what does that show? That doesn't speak to your skill, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. It would a little bit, right? But in a game like that, I'm like, okay, I think it would make more sense to, like you were saying, pick 3 or 5 characters, okay? Then go into a match, and then the rules would be, okay, you come in with 3 heroes, you have to win you have to win one game with each of your heroes.
Yeah.
To advance. Or, okay, each player is going to choose one hero of their opponents, or one character of their opponents, and ban it. Because Elder Scrolls Legends was a digital card game from Bethesda in the Elder Scrolls universe. Their tournaments were very similar. You came to the tournament with 3 decks, opponent, ban 1, and then you had to win with both of the other decks. And so it's like, well, that forces you to, as a player, not just rely on, I'm just going to pick the best cards and then just run that way.
Yeah.
Okay, your opponent, like, everyone's probably thinking like that. So then you have to be like, all right, how can I beat everything else with these other decks? Yeah. But even the best deck or best hero, you still have to actually go out and win with it too.
Yeah.
So
it's not just an auto win.
Right, it's not an auto win. But I like the idea of having tournaments where that's a thing. Like, in some cases, I almost feel like that's the only way you'd be able to make it work.
Yeah. I also think it'd be really fun to do that for Magic, just best of ones, but you just go in with 3 decks.
So there's a few things here, right? Because I was also thinking about Magic. I'm like, well, Magic doesn't do that, but they get around it. And I don't even know if get around it is the right word, because weren't they were the first?
Yeah.
Right? You know, the first card game. But I wonder which game like started doing the tournament play in a setting like this, right? So with Magic, in most constructed formats for Magic the Gathering, okay, you come to the table with your deck of 60 cards, and then you have a sideboard of 15 cards. So you got a total of 75 cards, okay? And again, if you're going to the tournament, you have researched the meta, you have an idea of what to expect, and you have built your deck and your sideboard accordingly. Yep. Okay. So the other way you could do it, okay, is you come to a tournament with multiple decks. Okay. Well, hang on. I think I'm getting too far ahead of myself. In regards to Magic, okay, you have one match is best of 3, right? So game 1 plays out with your 60 card deck.
Yeah.
Game 2, both players are allowed to sideboard, take cards from their sideboard and swap them in with cards from their main deck. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but your deck can still contain more than 60 cards after sideboarding.
Yes. Yeah. You can put all 15 cards into the main deck and then just go into the game.
Right.
They did change that. I think that was around 2014.
Okay. But it used to be, it still had to be 60?
Yeah. It had to be the exact same amount that you put in had to come out.
Understood. Okay. And then game 3. Now, if you go to game 3, does game 3, is that the same thing where it doesn't have to be the same deck as game 2?
Yeah. At that point, you can change up your stuff if you want.
Even the total number of cards still can be different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great,
exactly.
Great. Okay. So that's how Magic works, right? You've got your 60 card deck, you got your 15 card sideboard, and then from game to game, you can change out your deck in any way you see fit. The only stipulation is your deck still has to be at minimum 60 cards.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And that was kind of how I knew how tournaments worked, right, for card games, okay? Then you went to the digital side, okay? Like Hearthstone. Okay, Hearthstone was like the first big digital card game to really hit the market.
I think so.
Yeah, to really hit the market.
And I think they're coming up on, I think it's been 10 years now.
Yeah, it's been a while, man.
10 years.
It's been a long time. But when they started doing tournaments, I mean, you kind of talk about that a little bit because I feel like you'd probably know more about that.
Maybe a little bit. Yeah. So when they started doing tournaments, and these were in-person events as well.
Yeah. Right.
Especially for like a bigger tournament, or also doing it at not Gen Con, BlizzCon.
Yeah, BlizzCon.
Because it's a Blizzard game.
Yeah, Blizzards. Yeah.
And which it also originated as World of Warcraft TCG, which was paper.
Oh yeah.
And I'm super glad I got some of these cards.
Yeah.
Because now they're vintage.
Yeah.
Because they don't print them anymore.
Yep.
But yeah, so in Hearthstone, they will have their tournaments set up either in person or online, and you go in there with a certain amount of decks that pretty much they tell you the rule set from the get-go before you like agree to anything.
Right.
And it's normally either 5 or 3. So then if it's 5, there's a banning on one, and then it's the first to 3 wins. So if you, in that final match, rather than being stuck on like that one deck, you're like, this isn't working out for me.
You could
swap out to another deck.
So you come with 5 decks. Yeah. Opponent bans 1. You have to win 3 games with each with 1 deck.
Yeah.
So once you win with the deck, you can no longer play that deck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or it'll also be the first to 4 wins.
Right.
So
right.
Whatever, just the ruling that everyone agrees upon.
Right. Yeah. And normally with those, my understanding was your opponent knew your deck lists.
I
know at least with Elder Scrolls Legends, they did that. Each opponent knew, or each player knew what other players' decks were.
Early on, I don't believe they did. I don't know the exact ruling for it now.
Yeah,
but I do believe.
Yeah, from tournament to tournament, you'd have to see.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of card games now, and especially digital ones too.
Yeah, and Magic does this now to where if you're in a top 8 situation, or top 16, depending on how big the tournament is, your opponent gets to know every single card in your deck.
Oh, really? They do that too.
They give them the sheet of paper that is your deck list.
See, I wonder what the thought process and reasoning behind doing that is. I mean,
it's probably so there's just not some random cheeky play that could happen and be like, what was this?
Yeah.
Like something that higher level professional players just aren't prepared for. So then like some really crazy RNG could happen to them.
Yeah.
Along with if they're ever like, wait, that card's not in their deck. If there's ever some kind of mix up with the sideboard and the main board, or if people try to slip certain things in, then they would know that it's like, no, that's not a part of your list.
Yeah. Yeah. You're cheating.
Yeah.
And that's happened before, hasn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of cheating that has happened in the game of Magic.
A lot of it's marked cards. Also.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot, maybe not a lot, but I know some of that has been misinterpreted. Gets misinterpreted.
Yeah.
And that's something that can very easily get misinterpreted. Now, granted, that coming from someone who really doesn't know the rule set when it comes to marked cards, I mean, sleeving is another one. Yeah. But all of that goes back to marked cards, right? The foiling process. That's another thing. Yeah. When you talk about curled cards, you can get banned. You can get thrown out of a tournament for something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, well, then don't make the cards like that.
I think what happened with Kess specifically, this was in Legacy.
Okay.
So when Kess came out, she's the 4-drop Grixis, 1 in Grixis, and then you're able to cast things from your graveyard.
Yeah.
So
like
she was
all of your instants and sorceries.
Yeah. But you're only able to cast like 1 per turn. So when she got released, she was only in that commander product as a foil. And as you know, these were all Pringles, right?
Yeah, right.
So when people would take it into tournament, they even stated from the beginning of it, it was, if you're using Kess, you have to let Judge know, and they will give you a proxy card for the tournament, because every single one was bent.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. So
something's wrong when you have to do that.
Yeah. So I want to say, if there's ever a problem with like bent cards, normally they will probably give them the game loss for that, not give them a match loss, or if they're already like super late into the games and just like no one's called it on them, they could DQ them. But I think if anything, they will give them a game loss, get them a proxy card, and then continue the match.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just know that's been a hot topic in these communities for a long time.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah.
So,
and the thing with the sleeves, like we were talking about with marked cards, normally it's always because of Tron.
What do you mean?
So mono green Tron in Modern,
right.
It's because they want to know where their Tron lands are.
Oh yeah.
So they'll mark like, oh, in the bottom left, this one's the tower. In the bottom right, this one's mine. In the top right, or some other place, depending on the bend of the corner. And then this one would be power plant. So they're always moving stuff around and be like, okay, I know exactly where my tower's at. I want that on top, so now I can Ugin on turn 4.
Oh my word.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like people who do that. I don't.
Me neither. And I dabble with Tron.
Yeah, you do. But yeah, oh my goodness. When it comes I know we're getting off topic here, but when it comes to playing a card game, like especially in a tournament setting, yes, I want to know what's going to happen, right? Yeah. But there's always that feeling of what's on the top of my deck. Yeah. What am I drawing into? Oh, yes. Or, oh, crap.
100%.
It's one of those two. And like it's either like the best feeling in the world or it's the worst feeling in the world.
Normally it's the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah, 100% for sure. Or that feeling when you shuffle your hand into your deck.
Guys, I didn't do it.
I've done that multiple times. I have done that multiple times.
Wow.
I've done that multiple times. Yeah. And I think both times I was just super nervous.
Yeah.
I was like
that
really
makes sense.
nervous.
I was like, I don't even know how you do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Nerves getting the better of me. That's what happened. Yeah. So, but oh my man. Woo.
So all right, let's get back to the topic.
Yeah. So back to the topic at hand.
So when we were talking about the best of ones and coming in with a bunch of different decks, Magic kind of did this. It was really specific tournaments that did this a few years ago. I want to say like 2 years ago. And it was a team tournament.
A Magic team tournament?
Yeah, it was for Magic.
Okay.
And it was Standard, Modern, and Legacy. So you would have a team of 3 people going in with one of each deck.
One in each format?
Yeah, my bad. Yeah. Each person goes in with their one deck for each format, and they're all on a team.
Right.
So it's for the entire team. As long as 2 out of the 3 people win, their team advances.
Oh, okay.
So then there's best of 1 formats for it, but then there's also the best of 3 for each individual person.
Got it.
I personally really like the idea of the best of 1 format for that, or rule set for that. because, well, you have 3 games going on anyway, and it's also a bit quicker because it's only the one game.
Yeah.
Or at least it can be, because there's a lot of times a game 1 goes to turns.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Which I instantly like because it can really change up the meta as well.
Yeah.
And especially for a lot of decks that need to sideboard to then go into game 2 and game 3 and grind things out.
Right.
I'm just like, let's see some crazy stuff happen. Just be as fast as possible, as proactive as possible.
Yeah. Having a format, rule set, whatever you want to call it, that is best of 1, again, in talking Magic, and best of 1 and not best of 3 would change the meta so much. The meta game would be changed so much. But then
Mono
again,
red
like,
would be rampant.
What's that?
Mono red would be rampant.
It is.
And also mono white weenies in Modern, because that also has a super fast clock.
A lot of like if you play Arena and you're playing best of 1, you will see a lot of mono red and you'll see a lot of mono white.
Yeah.
And depending upon the format, like if it's standard or whatever, you could also see a lot of mono black as well.
Yeah.
Basically, it's the fast decks. The fast decks are what rule those metas typically.
Yeah.
Because they want the game to be over. Like in a digital game like Arena, okay, it's a lot of it is about ranking up as quickly as you can. So you want to play the fastest deck and then win and then go to the next one. If you're not gonna win, like if you normally win by turn 4 or 5, if you're not there by turn 4 or 5, like, all right, I'm out. I can see it. I go to the next one.
Yep.
The nice thing about digital card games, is you can move on to the next game very quickly, very quickly. Whereas in paper, you can't really do that. So, like the format, what I'll say is format diversity is so huge. Like I think it's a great thing when it comes to card games, like or just gaming, card games in general. Just having all these different formats and ways to play your game is great. Like that's one of the great things about Magic. It's having all these different formats. You can play Arena, you can play Moto, you can play IRL, you can play paper, all this stuff. So many different ways to play. Okay. And Arena, you can go play games super quick. But yeah, so with Magic, it's pretty cool, right? And then we get to all these other games. It's like they've learned, a lot of these games have learned a lot from Magic what Magic has done over the years.
I mean, there's no reason you don't learn anything from it, right?
Well, right, and you learn the good. You learn the good and the bad.
Yeah,
you learn the good and the bad. And I think the bad that people have taken away from Magic is the lands. The land system. It's basically the land system or the resource system, right? And that's the biggest negative that you will always hear people talk about when it comes to designing a card game.
I got mana screwed.
And
I got mana
and it's
flooded.
the worst feeling. It's the worst feeling. And I feel like that's where a lot of other games capitalize. And then if someone points them to Magic, we'll say, yeah, we don't have mana screw, basically. Because I think that takes away from your enjoyment of the game, but also I hate to say it takes, shows that you're a good player or not, because all card games there's always an element of RNG. Always an element of RNG. So, when we talk about these other card games, it's like, okay, how can we figure out who's the best player in the tournament, right? Yeah. So, because and people have said this to us a lot about doing villainous tournaments. And I know like that's a pretty popular thing to do. Speaking of, like, I wonder what the competitive community does for villainous tournaments.
Isn't it?
I don't know.
I thought I remember people saying that like it's semi-drafted or the opponent gets to pick your character.
That's another way too. Yeah. So like you could come to the table with 3 characters, right? And then your opponent could say, all right, I want you to play this one. Yeah. And then you could do a best of 1, okay, in that regard too. That's an interesting way of doing it too. Yeah. But and again, that's another rule set. Again, trying to stay consistent with terminology here, but that you could take to all these other games too.
Yeah.
I know. How do you feel about a rule set like that, where I'm coming to the table with 3 characters, I know which one I want to play, and then your opponent either banning one or saying you need to play one?
Yeah, I think I would prefer the opponent just banning one outright rather than being like, oh, this is the one I want you to play.
Well, but here's the other thing, though. If you're playing in a tournament with a rule set that says you're banning one, wouldn't you? Well, I don't know. Again, you could set it up to where you have to win with both of them, or if you just have to win with one of them.
Yeah, yeah. At that point, if you're going in with 3, there's one ban, it would be a best of 3. Which
right.
Because again, you have to win with both of your decks.
Right.
Which I would prefer that rather than
your opponent choosing one for you to play.
Yeah, especially if
I know you and say that's your weakest character, play that one.
Yeah.
But then again, you get to do the same thing for your opponent.
Yeah. I understand that. I would just not really want to deal with that.
You just wouldn't want to play villains.
Yeah, probably. I would. Yeah, if we're saying you go in with 3 decks, okay,
yeah.
So you're going in with 3 characters, whatever it is, and rather than, I guess at that point it doesn't really matter because your opponent gets to choose. Since you would have to win with 2 decks regardless, I guess it doesn't really matter, does it? Other than you just get to decide which deck you start with. So. Yeah, because if they ban one, well, you're stuck using the other 2, to where if they just say which 2 you have to use, well, then they're still essentially banning one. You just don't get to pick which one you start with.
Right. And another thing that I was kind of thinking about, too, is you could also set it up to where, again, all of this comes down to, if you're the organizer, how you are choosing to set up your tournament, right? Now, with a game like Magic, there's so much experience out there, and how to run a tournament is like kind of ingrained in so many different people, right? But in all these smaller games, it's okay, I'm going to take my experience from these other ones and try to figure out how we can take this game and turn it into a tournament style game or a game for a tournament setting, right? Like if they're like, I think every LGS, every local game store owner should know how to do that for their communities, okay? Like if you've got a big Dice Throne community, throw Dice Throne events. Throw tournaments for your Dice Throne players.
100%.
Like you want to be supporting them, okay? Like you want to say, look, I love this game just as much as you do, or maybe some of you love it more. But hey, I'm going to, like, I'm already providing you a place to play. Let's throw some events. Let's get you some really good events and get more people into these awesome games. So like there's a lot of things you can do to be facilitating, your communities like that. And Dice Throne's such a great game, and that's just one of those games where had just been thinking about, man, how can a tournament be set up for a game like this?
Yeah. Just make sure you ban Widowmaker. I mean,
Black Widow.
I keep saying Widowmaker. That is not the first time I've done that.
Where is that?
Widowmaker is a character from Overwatch.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
She's the sniper.
Yeah. I don't think I've played Overwatch.
Oh, no? Well, they're about to drop 2. Overwatch
they are?
2, yeah. I believe it's in beta right now.
Oh, that's Blizzard, right? Isn't that Blizzard? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I did not know that.
And now they're saying it's not a sequel. It's just a patch update. It's a huge patch update. It's 2.0, I guess you could say, which is still
the way games work now. Like it used to be, you'd have to buy a whole new disc.
Yeah.
But is this actually an update, or is it like or is it going to be a whole other game?
So when they revealed I think it's kind of what Fortnite used to be. So do you remember anything about Fortnite?
So Fortnite used to be like mostly a game about building forts and then keeping out zombies.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that was the original game idea.
Yeah.
And then it turned into a battle royale.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
in order to
You could
play the
build
zombie,
stuff
yes.
in.
So to play the tower defense, essentially,
Right.
you had to buy the game. I think it was like $50 or something like that. And then, or you could play the
Oh,
multiplayer
yeah.
battle royale for free. And then everyone was like,
I'm just gonna
what's
do
a
the
tower
battle
defense?
royale.
And
Yeah.
then battle royale took off to be like
yeah.
the number one game in the world.
Yeah.
And then they like never looked back. I remember when I first saw the tower defense, I'm like, oh, this is sick. I might really like this game. And I think I still would. I think I would still really like playing that zombie defense game.
Yeah.
And but I don't think anyone even knows that that's a thing anymore.
Yeah, I do not think so.
Where was I going with this?
I have no idea.
What were we talking about?
Overwatch 2.
Okay, yeah. So this is essentially the same thing. Overwatch 2 is going to have a story mode, multiplayer thing that's more PvE based,
Okay.
and that's going to be what you can buy.
Ah.
Overwatch 2 PvP is going to just be given to every single person who already owns Overwatch 1.
Oh.
Because so many people were also just like, wait, this isn't even a new game. It's essentially the exact same thing with just reworked characters.
Yeah.
And one of the cool things that they have in the PvE or the story mode, whatever you want to call it, they have different talent trees that you could make for each character. So one of the characters, Soldier 76, he can make it to where normally he has a healing grenade that he throws on the floor and then it's stationary. So as long as you're in that little healing area, it heals him.
Right.
He has a skill tree that makes it to where he can essentially attach it to himself, pulsating out healing aura for himself. So no matter where he goes, he's getting
He's
it.
healing, right.
But he's
then
also healing his
other people.
teammate.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Right,
so
right.
it really changes up the dynamic of these characters.
Right.
And I originally thought they were going to be implementing that into the PvP section, which they are not.
That's weird.
Yeah. I'm like, that could have been great.
Yeah. That's weird.
That could have been great.
Yeah.
But oh well.
How do you do Overwatch in a tournament setting? You don't bring 3 decks.
You don't bring 3 decks. I think there's a banning.
Is there?
There's bans.
Really?
I think so.
Because Overwatch is it's a team game, correct?
Yes. Yeah. It's the new one's going to be 5v5. The previous one was 6v6.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was what am I thinking? It was 3v3.
I don't know. Hockey? In overtime? They go to 3v3 in overtime.
They do?
Yeah, now they do.
Really?
Yeah, I think they've been doing it for a few years now. Yeah.
Huh. I did not know that. That's interesting. So, all right. Well, yeah. So the whole this is an interesting topic, right? And it's just I think the best advice that I think we can kind of give in any tournament setting, right? If you're an organizer, is just research. Like, do some research. Have your ideas, right? Of okay, you always use the idea of okay, you can bring multiple different characters, okay, 3, 5, and then from there, you've got options like. Say your opponent chooses one, your opponent bans one, or something along those lines. Experiment. Try and experiment, honestly, because that's. I feel like that's all anybody can do, and all anybody is going to do. You know, if you're not Magic, like a game that's been around for 30 years, okay, you've got this wealth of knowledge and experience to just draw from. Like, well, you don't. So you gotta try something. And just see what's going to work. But I really do like the idea of... Also, I like the idea of not sticking with, again, in the case of Dice Throne, one character. Like, all right, I've got multiple characters that I like to play. Yeah. I'm going to bring 3 or 5 of them. And then now I'm able to play more of them, right? Because again, like at the end of the day, the goal is to have fun. Like I want to have as much fun as I can, right? And yes, winning's fun, but... playing the game is more fun, like being able to playing is fun. And then when your opponent says, no, you can't play, That's when it's not fun.
Yeah, that's when it's not fun for some people. The people on the not playing part.
Yeah. Oh man.
Especially for the community, right? Like
Yeah,
if you
for sure.
want everyone in general to be there having a good time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you know,
Right.
you make it to where winning just isn't the main priority.
Right. You make it worthwhile,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
But like not make it all about winning.
Yeah.
And you know, that feeling is really that's gonna fall to the people participating, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's their responsibility. It's your responsibility. Like if you're playing, it's your responsibility to make sure you have a good attitude,
Yeah.
right? And make sure everyone else around you is having fun too, because you can be the reason that everyone's not having a good time.
Oh yeah.
100%, right? And you got to be able to recognize that and realize that, and then stop what you're doing, right? Yeah, like just stop it. Get some help.
Yeah, which was one of my favorite things at Grapple when they made it to where for just every win you get, you got a pack. So normally you wouldn't get prizing unless you were in like top 3, right? Or top 2, depending on how many people were there.
Right.
So if you went 1 and 2 or 1 and 4, depending on how many games you're playing, you're not prizing out at all. You're getting absolutely nothing.
Right.
So when you would make it to where, you know, there's especially smaller kids, right, who just aren't there to be as competitive or just don't have the funds to do it. They
Getting one pack can be a big can be a big deal. That can be a big deal to younger kids.
For sure. Especially if they're going into a tournament that's like $5-6, and sure they're not plussing. Well, unless they pull something really good from their pack, but at least they're still getting a pack, you know.
Right.
So that was one of my favorite things.
They're getting a pack, and we all know you have the opportunity to now crack a pack.
Yeah.
And you know the opportunity, just cracking a pack in and of itself is a rush
gambling.
too. Is gambling, yes, it's gambling, but that's a rush too.
Yeah.
You know,
oh yeah, for sure.
That's very much a rush. Yeah. Absolutely.
They get to hang out with people. Most likely crack a pack.
The more people cracking packs is better for everybody. Especially the store.
If I had $1 for every time I've given a person just a free win, because I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I know this one kid who doesn't come in here very often is going to love this moment.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Now if it's like for a store championship or something like that, I'm not give out
store championship. I still don't care.
Yeah, like that's where Jim and I are very different when it comes to, and that's okay. Like that's totally fine.
Yeah, if we're talking like locals, I just tend to not really care. I just want to be there, enjoy the night.
Yeah, I'm still like very much more so. I'm always gonna compete, right? But I've gotten to the point now to where I can very easily not take stuff very seriously.
Yeah.
I can still give it my best and still want to win and still try to compete, but not at the end of the day not care as much.
Because I think we've talked about it. I'm not entirely sure. Like, so when people would come there to play competitively and I knew that and they wanted my help to be competitive, I will take it very seriously for them, for me, everyone who's like, into it.
If you're playing them, you mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Or if they just come over to me for help, not even in a tournament setting, I will take that game extremely seriously. Right. So for me, it's always like a time and place. Right. So if I'm just messing around at locals, having a good time with people, I'm just, I'm not really going to care. But if I know that those people that I am playing against want to take it seriously, I will take it seriously. Yeah, or if we're getting ready for an SCG or whatever bigger tournaments that are coming in, obviously I'm taking those seriously as well.
Right. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. So, all right. Well, what do you guys think? Do you have experience in these other games where, playing in a tournament is very different than it is in playing in a regular Magic tournament where you come with one deck, you come with your sideboard, and then you play in the tournament, right? Do you come with 3, 4, 5 decks, opponent bans, or kind of what's your experience been? There's so many different games now where like the goal or the way the game is set up, instead of a constructed format for a card game where you build your own deck, maybe you're controlling a hero or a character in the case of Dice Throne, a villain in the case of Villainous, or a character in the case of versus 2-player. That's another one. I'm very interested because it's a game I want to get into.
Or commander deck.
Yeah. Yeah. How do they do that? How does competitive commander work?
I don't even think it's a real thing, Dan. Whenever people tell me they play competitive commander, I'm like, so do you just like not like competitive formats?
Yeah.
You know, like modern, like, come on, even standard. Come on,
right,
man.
Right. Depending on the standard, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know what standard's like now, but anyway. Okay. Speaking of commander, that kind of leads us, it's a good segue into our card of the week.
Who would do such a thing?
Who would do such a thing? You would never play this card. You would never play this commander.
No, I mean, give us a great transition to the
yeah.
card of the week.
Yeah, the card of the week. So the card of the week for this week, we're talking about another Magic card, is Koma, Cosmos Serpent.
The big snake boy.
Big snake boy. So Koma is from Kaldheim. He costs a whopping 7 mana.
So much. But is it though? You're in Simic.
Turn 1 ramp, turn 2 ramp, turn 3 ramp, boom, Koma, turn 4.
Out. Okay, great.
So Koma costs 3 colorless, 2 green, 2 blue, total of 7 mana. So legendary creature Serpent is a 6/6. It's a big boy, and reads, "This spell can't be countered." Yeah.
He could be exiled from the stack though.
He could be exiled from the stack. Yeah, he could be, and then go back to the command zone.
Yeah.
Somebody's tried countering this before. Like, target. You don't have a legal target. Sorry, bud.
Well, no. He has a legal target. It just doesn't go through because he can't be countered.
That's true. Yeah.
The card that the counter spell will still go to the graveyard.
Yes, it will. It will. All right. So also reads, at the beginning of each upkeep, create a 3/3 blue serpent creature token named Koma's Coil. And then has an activated ability, sacrifice another serpent. Choose one. You can tap target permanent. Its activated abilities can't be activated this turn. And that's really good. And target permanent. Permanent.
Okay. It can be
permanent.
lands.
It can be lands. And then also, Koma, Cosmos Serpent gains indestructible until end of turn. So you can sack a Koma's Coil. You can sack a serpent. It doesn't have to be a Koma's Coil, just another serpent.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you can either tap another permanent or you can make Koma indestructible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I saw this commander being played in an episode of Game Nights, I'm like, I need it. I need to build it. Absolutely, I need to build it. And I did.
Now I told Dan this a while back. Now if you guys know me, which you most likely know me, I am not a green player, especially a Simic player.
Absolutely not.
At all.
He hates Simic.
At all. I refuse to ever play specifically that color combo.
Yeah.
I'll play Sultai.
Yeah, you'll play Sultai.
I don't mind playing Sultai.
Sultai is great.
Normally, colors that I hate playing, if you throw black into it, I don't mind playing it, right?
Yeah.
But so this one, I was like, I might.
especially after he saw my deck.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember Dan like talking to me about all the different cards for it and ones that he's planning on putting into it. I'm like, oh, I want to play this so badly.
So the whole on each upkeep get a 3/3 Koma's Coil. So you cast Koma, one turn around the table, it goes back to you. You now have 4 Koma's Coils.
Each upkeep.
Each upkeep
opponents.
is so huge. And then if you have ways to double your upkeep, like have another upkeep, or I don't know,
like a clone effect,
or after your combat phase, have another beginning phase. there was a
Yeah,
a Sphinx,
Sphinx,
where it could do that. I'm like,
Untap, upkeep, draw again.
Yep. So I'm like, okay, tap all of my mana on main phase 1, go to combat. Main phase 2, okay, untap, upkeep, draw. Oh,
Yeah.
and
It's messed up.
it is really messed up. So my whole idea, like I had multiple ideas, but the big one being multiple comas, just copy, and then counter, protect.
Yep.
It was all about cloning coma and then protecting all my stuff.
Yeah.
Because this is so powerful.
Yeah.
And what you don't initially realize is, I feel like a lot of people most likely get lost in the each upkeep get a 3/3, right? There's another thing that you can do. You can stack your serpents to tap other stuff.
Yep.
Is huge. So you got a big 20/20?
No, you don't.
No, you don't. I mean, you do, but it ain't going anywhere.
It's tapped. It's not going at me.
If you have an Ulamog, you're not attacking with the Ulamog.
You're not getting that. You're not getting. No, it's not Annihilator. It's the mill.
It's the mill.
Unless it's the Annihilator Ulamog.
But still, because Annihilator's on its attack.
Yeah. I'm just saying. When I first said it, I was like, oh, unless I'm talking about the mill or the exile mill.
Depending on which Ulamog you're talking about. The Kozilek, I think, has all of the, what is it? The Eldrazi. There we go.
The Eldrazi Titans.
The Eldrazi Titans have those Annihilator triggers, which trigger when you attack.
Yeah.
So if you are tapped, you cannot attack.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's the original 3 that have Annihilator.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the remakes of them, all very strong.
Oh, yeah.
But not Annihilator.
Yeah, not Annihilator.
Which is ridiculously overpowered.
Yeah. I think it's Ulamog, the Infinite Gyre or something, that mills 20 cards.
Yeah.
Or it's not mill, it's exile.
It's exile, but it's still
It's
mill.
still right. But it's not going to your graveyard. It's just being exiled.
Yeah, it's a better mill.
Yes, way better. I hated that one.
Yeah, that one's rough.
Yeah,
I love
terrible.
playing it in Tron.
Yeah, so like any new set drop, I'm always looking at the Simic cards, anything green, anything blue, and seeing what can go in Coma. And then there was one card in Kamigawa, the Mirror Box, whereas another Mirror Gallery.
Okay.
Mirror Box is basically a Mirror Gallery. Was the legendary rule does not apply.
Okay.
So when you're talking about copying legendary creatures, you don't want the legendary rule to take effect. If you're not familiar, the legendary rule is you can only have one copy of a legendary creature or legendary permanent on your board at a time.
Yep.
So if I have one Coma Cosmo Serpent, I cannot have another permanent named Coma Cosmo Serpent.
Yeah. How do you feel about the old legendary rule?
The old legendary rule.
Yeah, so it used to be there could only be one legendary permanent of specific on the battlefield.
On the battlefield, I hate that.
Yeah.
Especially in Commander.
Oh, yeah.
Especially Commander. Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah.
When did they change that?
I don't know. It's been a while.
It makes sense.
No
it makes
clue.
sense the way it is now.
Yeah.
It definitely makes sense the way it is now.
But it also makes sense how it was.
It does. It does.
If it's a legendary thing, there's only one of those. There should only be
yeah.
one of those in existence in terms of in the battlefield.
Right. Period. Correct. Correct. Yeah. That makes sense.
I don't mind how they had it before, but I definitely like this ruling.
Yeah, it makes logical sense. Yeah. That's for sure of how it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, Coma is one of my favorite commanders to play. It's my play style, like making a lot of stuff. Another one of my favorite commanders, I have to rebuild it again, is Amara, Soul of the Accord.
The Selesnya lady.
Anytime she becomes tapped, she creates a 1/1 with lifelink. Yeah, that was
tap on tap.
Tap on tap tap. Yeah,
Do
I
it
love that.
infinite times.
That was so great. Love that card. I also need to put back together my Muldrotha list with the new. I need to pick up the box topper of Muldrotha from Double Masters.
Gorgeous.
So good.
Molly.
So good.
Yeah.
But anyway, Coma, How did you feel the first time I played this? Do you remember the first time I played this?
I know we were at your old place, kitchen table,
Yeah.
and I believe, well, I'm pretty sure we were with AJ and Tyler.
Yeah, AJ and Tyler, yeah.
I think the first time I was just like, yeah, I'm just not going to target Dan.
Yeah.
That was like one of the few times. It was probably because Tyler was there playing Golos.
let's be honest.
Yeah, that was probably the correct
Yeah.
time.
And because there was a time where I had like 4 different coma effects at the same time.
Yeah.
So every single turn, I'll make 4 3/3s.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah.
But I just didn't care. I just wanted to see it go off.
Yeah,
And I think
and it went off. And it went off.
And I think like before we even got to the game, I'm just like, I want to see it go off. And I think I was playing Telrand.
I think you were. Yeah.
And I was just like, I will make sure Dan wins this game.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was super fun.
Yeah, so yeah, that was fun. So yeah, Coma's great. I'm it's a pet card. It's definitely a pet card for me.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
But if you've played played against Coma, what do you think? Do you like?
Or if it's in your play group and
Yeah.
you don't like it.
Yeah, let us know. I'd be very interested to know what you think of the Cosmos Serpent. And have you seen that Game Nights episode?
Also, if you want to know how to stop it, summary dismissal.
What does that one do again?
Exiles the stack.
Oh yeah.
It came out when the Eldrazi Titans came back in Eldritch or in Shadows over Innistrad a few formats ago. Oh man, that was like 2015.
Yeah, a long time ago.
So
Speaking of, I'm really looking forward to going back to Dominaria
yeah,
coming up.
Yeah.
That's gonna be.
I can't wait to get another Teferi.
Yeah. Another Teferi that's going to be in every blue-white deck.
The one that has flash isn't like really played at all.
It's
so
not.
they're getting better.
It's not. It was the last time we were in Dominaria. It was the last time Teferi like dominated a standard format.
Yeah, true.
Well, no, 3 fairy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
true,
3 fairy
true.
from
which
War
was
of the
War of the
Spark.
Spark.
Yeah.
But wasn't it Dominaria in that format? Yeah, because after Dominaria,
That's a good question.
They then
I'd
went
have
back
look.
to, I believe, Magic core sets.
Yeah, they did.
And then they went to Guilds of Ravnica. Allegiance, War of the
Correct.
Spark.
Yep.
So yeah, during that time, both Teferis were in standard.
They would have been.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because War of the Spark was the second to last set of that block, and the previous year was Ixalan, Dominaria, and then whatever the core set was. So yeah, for like half a more year, for 6 months, those two got to play together. For 6 months. It was great.
It was terrible.
It was terrible.
So bad.
Yeah. But summary dismissal will take care of Eldrazi Titan. It'll take care of Coma. It'll take care of anything that can't be countered on the stack. It was really good for the Titans because the Ulamog on cast or the Emrakul on cast, the ability would then go.
Those triggers would go on the stack.
So even if you countered the Eldrazi Titan, they still got the ability.
Effect. The on cast effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And even now in Modern, some people are opting in from the sideboard to play Summary Dismissal. Because
against what in particular?
So a lot of people have a sideboard Emrakul in some of their decks. So So when they sideboard these certain things in, especially against Tron.
Yeah.
Especially against Tron. Yeah. But even against Amulet Titan, it's nice. Because it gets around Cavern of Souls. Mm-hmm. It's great. Mm-hmm. It's a great card.
Yeah. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, I love Cavern of Souls. Mm-hmm. But whatever. All right. Well, that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know. Let me know what you think of Coma. Very interested to know what you think of Coma if you've played it. Cool. But Jim, where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Jim Morgan HNH.
You guys can find me on Twitter at _DG Campbell and on Instagram at D. Okay. Instagram at Daniel.G.Campbell, Twitter at _DG Campbell. If you go to our website, www.hobbiesandhappiness.com, you can find links to all our socials there, to every platform, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, everything from there. And then, again, just so guys, let you guys know kind of what we're doing, what we're up to. Jim streamed. Jim streamed last week. How'd that go, Jim?
It was great.
Yeah.
It was super great. I got completely destroyed in Magic.
Yeah.
I was doing good, and then I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm feeling good, feeling great. Going to go to the ranked ladder. Lost every game. It was mirror matches, and I'm just like, okay, that was fun.
Yeah. So we're going to be back at this table streaming on Saturday. And then next week I'll be streaming digitally. We're going to get to a point to where we are streaming at least once. One of us will be streaming once digitally per week. And then we'll still be doing this stream every other week. And then we're going to go from there and kind of see what we can do. But we will get to a point. We are now to a point to where we are at least streaming at minimum once a week. The format and how we stream is going to be a little different from week to week. Whereas we're going to be streaming here at this table on a bi-weekly basis. And then we will get to the point to where on 1 week we're streaming twice and the next week just once. And that will be the schedule. And once we kind of have that system in place for a bit of time, we'll kind of see where we can go from there. We'll probably get to a point to where we're going to be doing members only, patron only streams once we get to that point. But stay tuned for that. So I know, stay tuned, guys. I know it's been kind of a slow couple of weeks, but with the holiday, but we're ramping things back up. And that way we're going to get a lot of content out to you all in the next few weeks. So, all right. Thanks everybody for being here. We'll catch you in the next episode. See you, everybody.
Take care.